Doing today?
Pretty good.
For our listeners out there and our watchers, it's our first day without having any children
This school
in the
year.
house in the school year. So it's a pretty
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to actually come on more and do
little bit more. Yeah,
calls.
for sure, for sure. Except when we're doing makeout time, which happens more frequently, right?
No.
No. Did you see that look? Did you see that look? Oh my gosh! Wow!
You're
Wow!
funny.
The ego is hurt. I am not funny, apparently, to my wife. I don't know how she puts up with me personally. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about our topic today, and a topic that has kind of come up recently in some of our own little self-studies and whatnot. And it's talking about self-discipline and kind of how we view it. And we're going to do a 7-part series on it here. And today is our first part of this little series here that we're going to talk about. But I kind of want to talk a little bit more about, what discipline is first, how we're kind of going to relate to that here in making lifestyle changes and creating habits for yourself, so that you can really benefit from them. And I think for many people, the word discipline has kind of a negative connotation towards it. And we use it for, when we're upset at ourselves, or, we're trying to rewrite the ship in terms of, trying to change policies at work, or say you're trying to change lifestyles and family, and, you got to discipline your child or something along those lines because they didn't do so well. And
So we're not viewing it here as a punishment. That's not what self-discipline
it's exactly
is.
the wrong thing to kind of look at it as. And I think for too many people, that's one excuse that you can use not to have it, right? Do you want to expound on that or elaborate on a little bit more on that?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think once we take the negative connotation away from the term itself, right? Because it's not something that we want to frown upon when we have self-discipline. It's actually a positive thing. It's really the only way to create habits.
Yeah. And for anybody who is struggling out there when it comes to making a lifestyle change, it's because you have not created enough sustainable habits to sustain you long term. And that's why you keep on falling into the habits that you created before, which may have not been advantageous for you. It's hey, I was doing this for a short period of time, or a few weeks, or a few months, and now I'm not. So the reason that you haven't stayed with the consistency is because you haven't built up those consistent habits enough. And the self-discipline is probably the reason why. And it starts with the mindset that you have from it. Now, based on a little bit of our notes here, when we talk about the discipline, it's about taking action regardless of how you feel about the situation. And this is really hard for human beings, right? I mean, knowing that something is challenging to you, or that you're nervous to embark on, or knowing that you want to make these changes, but it's going to require a little bit of effort, right? Because that's exactly what's going to happen when you make these changes. Actually following through.
Right. So the snooze, hitting the snooze button rather than getting up when you had planned to get up. So that takes self-discipline. Okay. Alarm went off. I got to get up.
Right.
I don't feel like doing this.
Right.
And that's where the self-discipline comes into play. Well, you said you were going to,
right.
You're going to follow through on now what you said you were going to do.
And usually we say, I don't want to do this because of excuse X, Y, and Z, whether it be because in the past you've done it and you didn't like the results. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It gets you out of your comfort zone. Or of course, you're not sure what to expect once you have that, right? And a lot of people get into that realm. So the first aspect we want to talk about today is our topic of focusing on discipline as an opportunity and not an obligation.
Yeah. So focusing on where you're going rather than what you have to do to get there, right? So those little things that you have to do to get to where you want to be are extremely important, but focusing on the outcome is really going to get to you to where you want to be. So for example, I don't feel like getting up and going to the gym. I'm going to do it anyway, right? Because I want to have more energy, because I want to lose a few pounds, because I want to feel better about my body, or, so that is the opportunity. So focusing more on the opportunity rather than the actual obligation, which you're going to have to do,
or even
to do the obligation.
And not even so much that actual movement, what it takes to actually do that. Because that's what we shy a lot. That's what a lot of people shy away from, is that, once they start thinking of the obligation, they start thinking, well, then I got to change this, and that. I got to take away this. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to mean like you have to rewrite your whole script to your whole life. So we have to make sure that we're looking at that focus of what happens afterwards, to get you the results that you want long term, because that's what's going to keep you moving, right? It's to keep you on that positivity path. It keeps you focused on the positive things, as opposed to what you think you're going to be taking away, or what you're going to have to be doing, right? We hear those excuses all the time.
Yeah. I mean, even sitting down to write your meal plan list for the week, planning ahead is very important. Yes, you might not feel like sitting down and putting down your weekly menu and then making a shopping list, but the outcome of that is so beneficial to where your goals are. It really, really becomes
so we're not focusing on the obligation, right? We're focusing on that long-term aspect. Whatever the goal it is that you have or you want to achieve, you have to be focusing on that, as opposed to what you have to do at that moment. Okay, granted, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be something that you easily transition to all the time, unless you have a plan and you're consistent with that plan. And even with a plan, leave room for adjustment, leave room for time frame and buffers and things along those lines, so you can make that transition seem seamless. And in the end, know that it's always going to be something that you can adjust as you go along your path, and as you go along your journey, so to speak.
Yeah. And we have a lot more tips coming up in the next 6, coming up, that will help, move this along. So, but this is definitely a very, very important one, a really good one to start with. And we always say how important goals are. Remembering your goals, remembering your why is this also so important.
Yeah. So stay tuned for the 6 parts, or 6 installments. We'll do them over every few days to let you catch up to it, whether you're in our Empower 12 coaching program, watching this, listening to this, or of course in our community Facebook group. Feel free to shoot us any comments, or if you have any questions, let us know as well.
And next time, I think we'll definitely not sit here.
I don't know. I kind of like
It's
it.
hurting my eyes.
I kind of like
I'm
it.
trying to block it, but yes, we'll get in a different area.
For those of you who don't know what that is, that's our indoor garden.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell from
Let
here.
us grow. So
yeah, I don't think you'll be able to see it.
That bad boy is on.
So if you saw me bebopping around on the screen, it's because I'm trying to block the light. But
I think you should bebop around more frequently. Can you do that again? We can end out like this, like two.
So when are we coming back?
When are we coming? You don't want to joke around anymore?
No.
She gets so nervous when you joke around. Like, we can't just be.
I want to make sure that we are setting a time to come back and talk about number 2, because I'm excited about number 2.
Or we could talk about it now.
No, not right now. We're coming back. It's a 7-part series.
Oh, we'll see.
We'll be back on Friday.
Okay, we're going to be back on Friday then. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.